A very good morning to those joining from Europe and a very good evening to many joining from Australia. Informat is delighted to present this webinar, Why Sri Lanka, featuring leading industry experts. Informat celebrated its 15th year anniversary and interestingly our 10th year anniversary of partnership with companies in the Nordics. We have built some strong partnerships and friendships as Informat, and I believe we as Sri Lanka have something unique to offer to the world. To kick off the proceedings, I'm delighted to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Leif Olsen, who has been a true friend of Sri Lanka. Leif is the CEO of House of Sri Lanka and Secretary General, Sweden-Sri Lanka Business Council. Thank you, and over to you, Leif.
Thank you so much, Vino, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm joining you from Stockholm, Sweden, where it's a little bit gloomy day, and we all miss Sri Lanka, of course, and that's why we have the map behind me to still remember. My name is Leif Olsson. As Vino said, I'm the CEO of House of Sri Lanka, working with promoting Sri Lankan business in Sweden and helping Swedish companies working with Sri Lanka. And I'm also the Secretary General of the Sweden-Sri Lanka Business Council, which is the biggest entity working with Sri Lanka from a business perspective here in Sweden, and we have been doing that for the last since more than 10 years back. I have a background working with Sri Lanka since 16 years back when I worked in the country, and have fallen in love and have a passion. And we will, throughout this webinar, with my colleagues, get an understanding why Sri Lanka is such a perfect partner with Nordic companies and also companies all over the world, I would say. But we have a little bit Nordic focus from references today with me and Hans joining us as well. What I realized when working with Sri Lanka is that it has so much to offer, and it has high quality, and it has a commitment. And one thing when we especially talk about IT and BPM services, we are talking about the low staff turnover, which is unique in this world, I would say, when it comes to offshoring, outsourcing. Swedish companies have been working with Sri Lanka since many years back. We have a number, I would say nearly 100 Swedish companies have some kind of connection when it comes to IT with and BPM with Sri Lanka. Some with like subcontractors, or they have their own teams or whatever. We also have a number of Swedish companies working with Sri Lanka in apparel, or they are doing it for tourism. And what has now struck us is that there's an optimism, and I would like to share the results of a survey that we did in our business council recently, which has just been published. And the headline for this, I would say, is we are optimistic about the future when working with Sri Lanka. And our members are working in ICT, manufacturing, consumer goods, and hospitality. And we provide thousands and thousands of job opportunities for Sri Lankans, and we are a strong partner with Sri Lanka. And I would say before the COVID or the pandemic struck all of us, 71% of our companies have had growth in the last 5 years, and that is thanks to working with Sri Lanka. Of course, the pandemic challenged that, and it's for majority it has been the negative development during 2020, but we believe in the future. We believe in working with Sri Lanka, and 69% believes in a positive or neutral development already during 2021. So I hope that this webinar will give you more insights why we are working with Sri Lanka, and why you should work, or why you should expand your businesses working with Sri Lanka. This hidden gem, which my colleague Gian will soon talk about, and which a gem that we, and also my colleague from Norway, Hans, have experienced and found that this is the place where we want to do business, and we are a past, present, and future partner to Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, and I hope that you will enjoy the webinar, and I'm looking forward to take your questions based on my experience, and I hope that I can answer them as well. So over to you, Gian.
Thank you very much, Leif, for that lovely keynote speech. It is my privilege to introduce Jehan Perinpanayaka, Chief Executive Officer of Informat. Jehan was with Informat since the inception, and he also plays a role in Sri Lanka's IT BPM industry, and currently serves as Director Finance and Board Lead, BPM Forum in Slashcom, which is the Sri Lanka Association of Software and Service Companies. He is also the Vice Chairman of Nordic Business Council and Vice Chair of Member Network Panel, ACCA Sri Lanka. Jehan is a passionate advocate of Sri Lanka's talent and has been called the father of rural BPM in Sri Lanka, creating several rural IT BPM jobs. Thank you, and over to you, Jehan.
Thank you very much. My task today is to uncover a hidden gem. A.T. Carney has called Sri Lanka a hidden gem for its IT BPM expertise. Some of the world's biggest brands are powered by Sri Lankan talent and technology. And this includes leading giants such as IFS, the London Stock Exchange, Emirates, Fujitsu, JP Morgan, Pepsi, and the list goes on. Today, I was at an event organized by the Australian High Commission, and Sri Lanka has a long and a strong partnership with Australia over the years. And a little known fact is that the technology that goes into drones fighting Australian forest fires is developed in Sri Lanka. And global analysts have begun to take note. Global Sourcing Association UK ranked Sri Lanka as Destination of the Year, Offshoring Destination of the Year 2013, 14, and most recently 2019. A.T. Carney ranked Sri Lanka first in terms of financial attractiveness in their Global Services Location Index 2019. And the World Intellectual Property Organization ranked Sri Lanka second in South Asia for its innovation. So the world is beginning to take note. And some of those who have worked with Sri Lanka, including Chris Till, the global head of consumer services, HSBC, says one of the sites where I actually see the most innovation and one of the most proactive, working with Sri Lankan teams in Colombo, they are one of the most receptive teams anywhere in the world. A.T. Carney talks about Sri Lanka's accounting talent and says some countries have oil, others sit on vast deposits of ore. And what does Sri Lanka have? Accountants, thousands of them, ready to crunch the world's numbers. Today we have with us in the panel from Australia, the first Sri Lankan who became the global chair of a global association, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants UK, Mr. Aubrey Joachim. So just one example of Sri Lanka's outstanding talent globally. And our ICT workforce is growing in strength. Today, we employ over 100,000 in the IT BPM workforce. And of the BPM workforce, 25,000 and growing exponentially, we have a very good gender balance. Nearly 50% of the workforce is female. And also very interesting is the low attrition rates compared to industry standards. The IT sector has attrition of just 12%. The BPM sector at 19%. So globally competitive. Coming to our infrastructure, Sri Lanka was the first country in South Asia to trial 5G technology and also the first commercially to launch a 4G network. So strong telco infrastructure covering 95% of the island, 7 telco operators, 5 submarine cables. If you look at internet usage, 61 per 100 people, and mobile subscriptions, 150 for 100 inhabitants. And we were ranked 8th out of 230 countries surveyed for the price of mobile data. So a strong telco infrastructure. When it comes to education and healthcare, Sri Lanka is actually ranked higher than our neighboring giants, India and China. The government invests significantly in the health sector. We have free healthcare and we also have free education. And in education, we are ranked 66th globally, whilst India is 107 and China is 93. 15 state universities, multitude of private universities, including those affiliated with UK, US, Australia, 11,000 schools. So very strong healthcare and strong education. Sri Lankans highly prize education. So we have a highly skilled and educated workforce. 210,000 annually qualify to sit for advanced levels. And 65,000 students enroll in state or private tertiary institutes. If you come to accounting, we have over 85,000 accounting students and 16,000 members of global accounting bodies. When it comes to office space, Class A office space, we have dedicated IT parks. And I just had a meeting recently with the ICT agency. There are 3 more IT parks in work in progress. We have the Port City, which has a special economic zone. We have Orion City, in which my company has a facility spanning 16 acres, 550,000 square feet, 6,000 plus employees. So very, very impressive and affordable Class A office space. Coming specifically to the BPM industry in Sri Lanka, which I am a part of, what do we have to offer? What does Sri Lanka have to offer? It is ideally suited as a niche destination for highly skilled talent, a center of excellence for accounting, experience serving leading international brands around the world, attrition rates which are lower, excellent information security. There's a strong focus on value addition. So it's not just meeting SLAs. There is innovation, there is thinking, there's process improvements, there's incorporation of robotic process automation, of artificial intelligence, of innovation. Natural disasters. Sri Lanka has had 0 work stoppages. Throughout the pandemic, and even before that, when we had a 30-year war, we had a very good track record in terms of uptime. It is, in fact, a very safe destination with 0 work stoppages. And what you will find, which is I really believe is unique, and we will hear more from my good friend Hans Otto and Leif later, is the warm, friendly Sri Lankan hospitality and people. You will find higher levels of individual attention and senior management involvement. So we believe in building lifelong partnerships, and we will not overpromise and underdeliver. So some of the global corporates in the BPM space that have chosen to set up their back office in Sri Lanka include Innodata, R.R. Donnelly, HSBC, Accenture, WNS, London Stock Exchange. So several very well-known brands have located their back office taking advantage of Sri Lanka's talent. Listen to Anne Neidenbach, the CIO of London Stock Exchange.
When the LSE went live on the Millennium platform, we were one of the fastest trading systems on the planet. So, I mean, it's really a tribute to the talent that's down in Sri Lanka. I can't say this enough. We certainly have enjoyed the culture down there, think extremely highly of the talent down there, and really sort of embraced being in Sri Lanka.
The BPM workforce includes not just accounting, it includes data analysis, customer service, human resource management, help desk, legal services, procurement, a range of services. And the pandemic actually has strengthened our offering because companies around the world are beginning to realize we need BCP. And we have people working from home anyway. So Sri Lanka is an ideal location as a BCP to de-risk your business continuity strategy. So why is Sri Lanka? So to sum up, robust, competent and niche talent pool, high spirit of innovation, one of the highest literacy rates in the region, some of the best and most advanced technology infrastructure in the region, and our experience of over 30 years serving leading brand names. So I would like to leave you with this little video, and we brand Sri Lanka's IT BPM as the island of ingenuity, the island of ingenuity.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, an island of creators, innovators, and outstanding engineers. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Jan, for that informative presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Vinu Abegunathan. I head the business development and marketing arm of Informat. Please bear with me. I will load up my screen for the presentation. Thank you. Why Sri Lanka? I will take you through your smart extended workforce from Informat. Informat was the first shared services center in Sri Lanka. We've been in the business for 16 years, having ISO 27001 for information security, and we have a team of 300 plus professionals. We have 150 plus clients, both locally and globally, and part of the first rural BPO initiatives to launch and provide sustainable workforce to the country. If you look at the portfolio of work we have, it's mainly on finance and accounting. We use a multitude of platforms, including the world-renowned SAP, Oracle, Xledger, Grishma, Mammoth, just to name a few. And if you look at our services, the other services, it ranges from shipping documentation, lead generation, image annotation, HR outsourcing, legal process management, just to name a few. And we are very flexible. Should you find no services here which do not fall under your purview, we are very flexible to talk and understand more. When you look at the close affiliations with international bodies, we're very close with the Nordic Business Council and European Business Council and several international accounting bodies. Informat has a global footprint, serving clients on 4 continents, including Norway, Sweden, UK, and Australia. We greatly value long-term partnerships with our customers, and we are very proud to have comments such as these. From Sweden, the delivery manager we work very closely says the team at Informat is willing to go above and beyond when it comes to ensuring that deliverables are met and normally exceeded. Informat always works in a proactive manner to ensure an excellent service. From Australia, the co-founder and CEO says We are extremely efficient and easy to work with. I have no reservation recommending Informat as an offshore accounting solution. From Norway, the chief executive officer of an accounting firm states Informat was selected after a very extensive selection process. We evaluated among 20 potential BPOs. This collaboration has given more confidence to expand the relationship and work further together. This is from one of the biggest FMCG companies in the world. The financial controller states they were able to achieve great stability. Key phrases would be work hard, commitment, extended family at Informat, and solidify a great business partnership. The shared services manager from an Australian agriculture company states gains across the board were made, including productivity, accuracy, especially processing times. And we use the world's best practices to bring this about. Let's look at some case studies to showcase some of our great workforce providing world-class services. The first is an office relocation company based out of Norway. We have a team of 6 working on the X-Ledger platform, mainly providing finance and accounting solutions. So they account for 150,000 plus transactions on average per year. Moving on, we have a Swedish-based process digitization company where we have a big team of 30 working on a 24/7 shift. They account for digitization of purchase orders, invoices, where the company itself has a big revenue of $22 million USD. Looking at an accounting firm based out of Norway, we have a team of 5 generating 45,000 plus average transactions per year. The processes handled vary from bookkeeping to general ledger, where the company size is close to $500 million US. Now let's look at information security, which is a very crucial part when it comes to handling all of these resources. We account to 26 processors. We comply to EU GDPR, and we are audited by Bureau Veritas. All our staff are trained when it comes to information security. There are designated zones 24/7 CCTV operation to ensure that client data and no trespassing is adhered to. All of this is about business. Let's look at Informat, what life at Informat looks like. We have a very young, energetic team, are always willing to achieve the best, reach mile high. At the same time, enjoy what they do. We are an ACCA approved gold learning partner. And a key fact here is that 50% of the female representation in Informat, including the management committee, is adhered to. Informat is not all about business. We make initiatives, especially when it comes to rural BPO. We started our journey in Mahavilache 11 years back, where we had a team of close to 15 staff, and we managed to provide the BPO experience to the rural areas. Mahavilache is based on a remote town, 40 kilometers away in the central province of Anuradhapura. Similarly, we have functions operating from the southern part of Sri Lanka, in Sinigama, which is another team. All these teams account for all these processes from the SAP platform. In Jaffna, we have a team dedicatedly working, helping the customers when it comes to accounting functions. Specifically, all these teams combined have do 62 different processes on SAP, topping 1.6 million transactions with top-of-the-line accuracy scores. So before we close off, what do we bring to the table? We bring the best in the industry. We bring the best practices. We have a multitude of learnings in different industries. We are backed by Sri Lanka's largest conglomerate, and we commit to what we say. We are open and we are flexible. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So moving on to the panel discussion, I'm delighted to introduce Hans Otto Evensen, former CEO of Vega Partners Norway. Hans has been a wonderful and loyal friend to Informat and a great supporter and promoter of Sri Lanka. Welcome, Hans. Hans, to kick off, I would like to begin with you. What was your experience working with Informat in Sri Lanka? Hans, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Yes, the experience from my side and my partners was excellent. We started the business with Informat in 2010, and we have learned a lot during that period. We was very pleased and very excited about the competence, professionalism from the Gian and his team. And also the way of interesting to learn a little bit about the Norwegian culture was very important for us. And it also made it easier for us to interact with Jehan and his team. So I will highly recommend Jehan and his team. Of course, I saw also that your presentation have a lot of the advantages that we experienced during our period. So I agree totally with that.
Thank you very much, Hans, for those kind words. The next question is
excuse me, I will also mention one thing, and we were also very pleased about the focus on IT security. That was one thing was very important for us because of was very important for us. So thank you also for give us a lot of opinions about how we can improve our own IT security.
Thank you very much, Hans.
Thank you.
Jehan, you play a role in Slashcom in the industry. What are the Slashcom initiatives to build Sri Lanka's IT BPM industry?
Thank you. Slashcom consists of 300 companies, including all the leading providers as well as several startups. So one of the things that Slashcom is working on is making Sri Lanka better known internationally. As I said, we have been called a hidden gem. So our goal is to make Sri Lanka known to the world and showcase the outstanding talent and capability of Sri Lanka. That is number one. Second is we are working on capacity. We are looking at doubling our numbers over the next 4 years. So in that respect, we are working with universities. We are working even with children. We have a program called Kids Can Code and Tech Kids. We are working with converting arts graduates who want to get into the IT stream. We're working with government for support and incentives. So there are many different initiatives, but primarily I would summarize one is in making Sri Lanka known, getting our brand name out there, IOI, Island of Ingenuity, and second is on capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Yes, your presentation highlighted on Sri Lanka being a gem. We need to show the gem to the world. Leif, you work with IT professionals around the world. What is your opinion of the talent and capability of Sri Lankan professionals?
Thank you so much. What I would say, what we see when we compare Sri Lankan IT professionals and we see from our competitors, I think there are some things that were worth mentioning. We have spoken about the low staff turnover, which is unique. There are some other things as well. The Sri Lankan companies are not that big compared to other companies in the rest of the world. That means that you will have a direct contact with the senior management or the owners of those companies, which is, I think, builds a lot of trust, a long-term relationship. They would always know that who you are as a client. What we also experienced is the the fact that Sri Lanka is not a yes, we fix destination. Sri Lankan IT companies, BPMs, they quite often say no to potential clients because they think that they are not maybe 100% suited to work with them. And that is something that I would say that's an advantage, a very big advantage, saying that and we have a lot of respect for the Sri Lankan IT companies because they do that. And they have no interest, so to say, to become multinationals here. They want to deliver good services and to the clients, and they want to build long-term relationships. And I think that's a little bit outstanding compared to other destinations. And that's also why I, in my introduction speech, mentioned this, that we don't talk about resources, we talk about people, because you want to have a team in Sri Lanka, which is your team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leif. Hans, over the 7 years you were working with Informat, what was the relationship like? Did you get a lot of management attention? And was it a positive experience for you overall?
From the start, we get a huge management attention from Informat and the rest of the John Keys group. That was quite unique, actually. And that was also one of the main reasons why we started also to do the business with Informat. Today, in fact, most of those people have been my friends. So both business and the friend from the business and the friendship level, that's excellent. And that also meant that we learned a lot about Informat and John Keys in general, and also much about Sri Lankan culture. So that was quite unique. So we felt very important people. In fact, we was not so big company, but even then, when we get in touch with Informat, we felt that it was very important customers.
Thank you very much, Hans. Leif, what would you recommend for someone who's keen to try out Sri Lanka and gain a first-hand experience of Sri Lanka's BPM capability? How should someone start?
Thank you so much. I think the best way to start is start small and then grow your business and the commitment and the engagement, and try out a little bit, because we have to accept that there are cultural differences, that there will always be that. And these cultural differences are actually an advantage. But it will take a little bit of time to build up the relationship. So start small, and then I would like, and that's in the same context of this relationship building, try to visit as soon as possible, or make sure that your Sri Lankan partners, I would say, because that's what they should be, also visit your company here, for example, in the Nordics, to get an understanding about how it is to live and work here, and also get a better understanding about the business. But take the chance, start small, visit very soon, or during your process when you are finding your Sri Lankan partner, and then I'm also certain that you will come back later on with your family for a holiday.
Thank you very much, Leif. Jan, what do you think are the top 3 Sri Lankan can offer to a business in the Nordics or indeed around the world?
I would say number 1, access to talent. Today, the globe is shrinking, and we are all collaborating. We are not looking at competing, but we are all looking at leveraging our relative strengths. So I think Sri Lanka provides access to talent, whether it be in accounting. We have fantastic HR professionals, legal professionals when it comes to data, analytics, of course, technologies like RPA. So that would be number 1. The second one is in terms of cost attractiveness. And the third would be the warm relationships. We build relationships, as I said, for life. We are looking at long-term partnerships, not at quick wins. We are not looking at business only. We are looking at warm friendships, relationships, on keeping our commitments. Those would be, I think, what Sri Lanka can offer. Many more things, but probably those would be the top three.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, please send in your question and answers to the Q&A box, and we'll be happy to take this at the end of our Q&A panel. Couple of more questions. Hans, you have traveled to Sri Lanka many times, possibly 20 plus times. What are your thoughts on the country and its people? Sorry, Hans, you're on mute.
I have some problem with my computer here.
We can hear you now, Hans.
Can you hear me? That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, my thoughts. How many hours do I have? I think the country is the most beautiful country I know, and there's a rich history. And every time I go down to Sri Lanka, I learn some new thing about the wonderful history they have. And of course, the people are very, as I see, humble, but also very professional and dedicated. And I'm also very impressed about the openness I experience every time I go to Sri Lanka. So yeah, that's all I can say. It's a hidden gem, actually, in so many ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leif, any concluding remarks from you?
Thank you. As Hans said, you can go on for hours here. Concluding remarks is that we hopefully today, with the presentations we have and also the follow-up questions, which we will have from you who have been listening, is that Sri Lanka is a hidden gem, and it's easy to work with, easy to get access to high talent and qualified companies. And it's not far away, and I see it from a Nordic perspective. The time zone difference is only 3.5 hours, so it's afternoon now in Colombo, and it's morning here in Norway and Sweden, and that makes a good overlap, which is very important. So Sri Lanka is not far away, and it's easy to travel. I can take the plane around 1,500 hours today, short stop in Doha, and then Gian and his colleagues will pick me up at the airport at 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning in Colombo. So it's not far away. Important, I would say, is when you start business with Sri Lanka, make sure that you listen to references also. Talk to other people like Hans or people from like me or us from the Business Council who have experience working with Sri Lanka, because there will be challenges. Otherwise, I would be lying. But you will overcome them, definitely. Like you will have overcome challenges with your national staff back home, you're in your own home country. But we are more than glad to help you lower the threshold and make this an easy ride. And I hope to see you all in Sri Lanka someday when we can travel a little bit more easily. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Leif. So we can open up the Q&A for the audience. So we have a question already from the audience. It goes, what would you rate as the main challenge that you have faced as a client, and how did Informat manage to surmount that problem? I believe that is for you, Hans.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. What would you rate as the main challenge that you have faced as a client, and how did Informat manage to surmount that problem?
I think the main challenge was actually from our side, from Norwegian side, that we have to get our employees used to so they can how they can know the advantages with have the business and help from Sri Lanka and what the Informat you did to get that better. Then we had a lot of Skype meetings. We had Teams meetings and emails, of course, communications, and we also sent over some books and some information about the Norwegian culture and history, and vice versa, and that helps a lot. So we tried to lower down the barriers between the different countries.
Lovely, thank you very much for answering that. Jehan, there's an interesting question. This is possibly towards the IT BPM sector. The audience wants to know, can you please tell us the progress of data protection legislation in Sri Lanka?
There is a very comprehensive Data Protection Act which has been drafted by the ICT agency. They have one of the foremost legal experts in this area, Jayanta, who has been working on this. And it is now in the final stages. So we expect in coming months, hopefully by the end of the year, this to be enacted. It has been in the works for some time. There has been a delay in passing this law, but we think that it's very much in the final stages. But apart from that, Sri Lankan companies, including my own Informat, we have taken several measures to ensure we are fully compliant. In fact, Informat, we have the ISO 27001. We were the first accounting services provider in the country to get that certification. We are now compliant with the Norway Data Protection Act, with GDPR. We have signed agreements to that effect. So the companies, notwithstanding the country's law, have taken the necessary steps to ensure full compliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan. Audience, please send those questions to the chat box or Q&A. We'll be happy to answer. We've got another follow-up question. Technologies such as RPA, AI are changing financial accounting outsourcing in particular. How is Informat adopting these technologies in their offering?
So if I could answer that, the world is being disrupted. So we need to disrupt ourselves. So we are incorporating these technologies into our own solutions. So we work very closely with our in-house software company, John Keel's IT, which has also a long track record of working with leading brands in Nordics and also in Australia. So we partner with them to develop these technologies, and several of these have already been implemented. We have successful case studies of the use of bots in Informat. And this year we have an aggressive strategy to roll out automation. So we are discussing with our customers how we can help them to automate some of their repetitive functions. And where there is a business benefit, we can pass it on to them. So we want to really initiate and drive these discussions as a service provider. And this is something that Informat can support.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jahan, for answering that. Yes, RPA specifically is taking a lot of new trend, a new hype when it comes to helping automate. Audience, please send in those questions. We're happy to answer any upcoming questions. In the meantime, I will ask the panel, what are your thoughts? What do you think is the field of BPM in particular having an impact on both the Nordics and the world economies?
If I may start, I think that there are I think more, especially from Swedish perspectives, more Swedish companies should look into this field here, and they will also work more with that with partners like in Sri Lanka, and that is something we have seen during the pandemic. And I also think it's important to emphasize your offering, also what you talk about, what you do in AI and data analytics and image tagging and so forth. I think that here Sri Lanka has a very good offer, and will be on the forefront later on, definitely.
Thank you for that. And I think there was a question from Aubrey addressed to you, Leif, about how many members make up the Sri Lanka Sweden Business Council.
Yes, we are something about plus 70, 75 members. The majority are businesses, come from big Ericsson to small SMEs as well. But we also have a number of associated Sri Lankan members, but they are not full members because of legal reasons. So, and we have been growing fast the last couple of years actually, and also I would say also with a very good cooperation with the Sri Lankan embassy here in Stockholm, Sweden, which we have done a lot of activities with and when promoting Sri Lanka. So, but our goal is that our goal was in 2020 to be 100 members, but that unfortunately because of the pandemic. So I think 2022, I think we will hopefully be 100 to celebrate together with our Sri Lankan partners and also our partners in Nordic Sri Lanka Business Council, which is a very important partner. And I would say for Sri Lankan companies or listening to this webinar, I would urge you or recommend you to reach out to the Nordic Sri Lanka Business Council and also become members there. Then you have access to the whole Nordic region, definitely. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Leif. Audience, please send in those questions. We are very happy to answer. The panelists are eager to answer your questions. Just a question from me. I've seen RPA. I've seen a lot of trend when it comes to hyper automation and things like that. Do you see scope specifically in Sri Lanka for other offerings apart from the general offerings by most BPM companies? Is there scope for development in other areas? Jahan?
What we've seen, we just completed a BPM State of the Industry report where PwC conducted this report surveying over 80 companies. And the feedback that they got on the nature of the services was very interesting because it's now a broadening, a widening a range of services that are being offered out of Sri Lanka. So initially it started with more data management, accounting. Now we are seeing companies going up the value chain, doing more not only management accounting, but high-end financial analytics. We are seeing other services like legal process outsourcing, HR outsourcing, as Leif mentioned, image annotation to facilitate machine learning and AI. We are seeing help desk, lead generation, so many different services, and we are going up the value chain into higher end services. That was the trend that we saw out of that survey done by PwC.
Lovely. We have an interesting question. I believe, Jahan, you can answer this. Here goes a question. When we speak of BPM, the elephant in the room is the massive and well-established Indian industry. In terms of competitive advantage, could you list what Sri Lanka's major strengths are, vice versa, versus the Indian giants?
In Slashcom, we don't actually talk of competing, but we look at more collaboration because each country has their unique strengths. And we are in fact looking at, we had a delegation of Indian CEOs from BPM companies coming and visiting our Prime Minister a few months ago. And they were looking at using Sri Lanka as a disaster recovery center or a business continuity location in order to diversify risk. So they are really looking at collaborating in what's called an India +1 strategy, where Indian companies would partner with Sri Lankan companies. So that's a very interesting possibility. I think Sri Lanka's offering is unique. We are much more focused, much more niche. So our focus is less on volume, more on high quality, and also a lot of individual attention, personal attention, automation. We're looking at adding value. Those would be, I think, the main differences.
Could I just add that I think it's very good that, as you mentioned, we don't talk about competition or you see that you can cooperate with these other destinations and I can also see Swedish companies who have started in Sri Lanka, and then when they need to expand, they still have the teams in Sri Lanka, but they go to other destinations for various reasons, and because they want to reduce the risk and be in different parts of the world. So I think that's important, and Sri Lanka is a very good place to start to learn how to do this as well.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Leif. Thank you, Jehan, for those valuable insights. Just interesting point I'd like to touch on, I think we haven't touched on, is quality. Without comparing other countries or other destinations, where do you think Sri Lanka stands with respect to quality of service? This is mainly because we look at high volume, high number of repetitive processes, mundane processes. How does quality play a crucial part when it comes to the BPM industry from Sri Lanka?
So if I could answer that from an Informat perspective, and then I will ask Hans Otto to share his experience as a client. So what we do with quality is from the outset of the project, from the time of commencement, we define what is quality. So we have our quality team that goes in and documents for each type of transaction or each type of delivery, what is the expected outcome. So we go into a very granular level. We document it. Then we have a quality team conducting quality audits. We have regular training. We have a full in-house training team. So the right recruitment, the right documentation, the right training, and the right collaboration with the customer. You keep listening to the customer. And things like customer surveys, this is something that we have got right, and it has been, in my opinion, very, very successful. We have very high quality scores and very high customer scores. It needs a lot of focus, attention, and hard work. Hans, from a client perspective, would appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah, can you unmute me? Okay.
We can hear you, Hans.
Yeah. Okay. The quality from your side that we experienced was excellent, and we used a lot of time on that at the beginning, and also agreed on what kind of expectation we had to each other. And of course, there can be some language barriers also when we try to explain each other how to do it. But as our experience that the quality was as good as in Sri Lanka as it was in Norway. There was no difference actually. So that was superior. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hans. I appreciate those kind words and encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you both. Audience, please keep those questions coming in. We have 6 more minutes until our friends in the Nordics go off for lunch. Maybe on a summary note, I'd like to ask one more very simplistic question on tourism, which is not BPM. We understand COVID is very disruptive to economies, travel as well. What are your thoughts, Jehan, when it comes to tourism in Sri Lanka? Do you believe there is high potential for business and leisure? I believe Hans also can add to this.
So Sri Lanka was recently recognized by one of the international travel bodies because we were one of the first to launch this travel bubble unique concept called Level 1. So we have designated zones where people can come in directly, and that this is already operational. So our parent company, the John Keel's Group, which owns a Cinnamon brand of hotels, has already launched this with some of our leading hotels, and we have guests coming in. So they don't need to quarantine. They can go into these hotels, enjoy the best of Sri Lankan hospitality. The only restriction is it is limited to those specific zones or hotels, and their movements will be somewhat restricted. But the feedback coming is very encouraging. They love to travel. They love to get back to Sri Lanka and experience the best of Sri Lankan hospitality. Now, once the COVID situation hopefully becomes more normal and the vaccines really play their role, and we get back to some semblance of normalcy, I think travel will bounce back maybe 2022 or 2023. And I think the opportunity of combining leisure with business, maybe coming for a week, Monday to Friday, working with Informat, working on training, and then taking the weekend off is something that really works well. We see with several of our clients. And Sri Lanka is not a very large country. Within half an hour or 45 minutes, you can be in a pristine beach, sitting under the sun, enjoying sun, sand, and sea. You can have a great weekend. So it's an ideal location to combine business with pleasure. And we have a question from Mr. Aubrey Joachim. It is given the abundance of internationally qualified finance and other professionals in Sri Lanka, are you promoting the high English language competency of the workforce? And are you ensuring that finance professionals specifically are keeping their professional competency development? Absolutely. So we have very high literacy rates. And the English language, our accent is very neutral. And that is something that people like because they can easily understand. We continue to work on that. We have a full-time training division, and they spend time. We have a communicators club, where we are working on honing, developing, and improving our English, spoken English and presentation skills. And that is open to all our staff. And our training division is also working on equipping all our staff. It's not just the IT folk or the process excellence team only. We're looking at training all our staff in things like RPA, Lean, and also in artificial intelligence. So over the next 18 months, we have a target of covering our entire organization. One of the things that we did very successfully is with Power BI. And now we are rolling out that capability or dashboards for all our customers. So that is continuous work in progress, Aubrey, in Informat.
Thank you very much, Jahan, for answering that wonderful question. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time and your presence today. We're going to close the session today. We are privileged to have all of you joining from all across the world. And hopefully we have given you a flavor of what Sri Lanka has to offer. Stay tuned for our next webinar with another international panel. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us anytime. Leif, Hans, Jahan, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and expertise. We are honored to have you. I wish everyone a good day. Stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks.